So once again, my man Prince Wine is out here playing 4D chess when it comes to kind of everything that happens to be falling into place. Now, the one thing that I will say when we get into the latter half of the episode so far is kind of seeing how everything's going to play out as the season kind of ends up coming to an end. And we kind of see like the light at the end of the tunnel already for when we look at Genius Prince, right? Now, this episode definitely hit a couple of different areas, kind of hit a couple of different notches. So there's like three different things essentially that happen during this episode, right? We have the Princess Forlania, or whatever, however you say her name, which is the little sister of Prince Wine. We have all of her upcomings and strength being built. Then we have this Meltear scene, essentially, which is like Meltear. Well, I guess it kind of split into four, right? We have Meltear kind of like invading the Empire. We have the church, essentially, Leviathan, or however you say it. They're invading Meltear, which is the city of merchants. So that's kind of what's happening there. And then you have Lomina and kind of everything that she's trying to accomplish along with Prince Wine. And then I guess the fourth pillar, so there's actually four things that occurred during the episode, is the whole situation with one of the princes from the Empire trying to marry Frelania or whatever. And with that prince trying to marry her, we pick up right where we got left off on last episode. And that's like kind of like the fourth thing. So I'll kind of make my way back through these things. But we have like that first thing, which is where we pick up from last week's episode, which is Prince Wine busting on the scene. He did so because he was just really worried about his little sister. He didn't really kind of forward think what kind of scene he was going to be busting in on, but thankfully our girl Ninam was able to update him really quickly on the situation, and he was able to turn the tables around. And again, that's why I say he's always playing that 4D chess. So he was able to then again renounce. He's gonna end up getting married to Loa or Lomina. Like, it's just gonna end up happening by happenstance, even if he doesn't want to, just by him kind of like, announcing certain things, he's going to end up marrying her in some way, shape, or form. But he then announces that he's going to marry her in front of the prince again. He's like, oh, well, you're going to welcome both of us into the empire, right? And again, he does that 4D chess thing to where he's like, well, in Natra, it's actually, we're not able to marry two people marry into the same family. Which is some BS that Ninam came up with on the fly to try and get his little sister kind of out of that situation, which she does. And then they go and meet the following day, or maybe a couple of days later. He goes and meets with the prince again. And again, he has a situation to where he almost kills another freaking prince because he sees there. And these dudes they're idiots. I swear, I laughed so hard when the prince drank it. I was like, no, not another one. But the prince basically goes and grabs his cup of tea, his water bottle. But he grabbed his cup of tea because Prince Wine he immediately told the maid girl, he's like, drink the tea. And she was like sweaty bullet. She's like, I can't drink the tea. She's like, it's special tea for you, Prince Wine. It's special tea that doesn't dare touch my lonely lips. He's like, drink it, drink it. So the prince gets, oh my God, you guys saw it, but like the prince, he's like, do you think we would poison you or something? He just like gulps it down. And immediately blood, he falls over. And the little nanny girl just runs away. And I was like, oh no, not another one. And they hold Prince Wine in captivity like it was his fault. He's just like, he saw the situation there. And he literally told the prince, don't drink it, bro. Don't drink it. He's like, and he got him anyway. So I thought that whole scene was hilarious. Thankfully, the prince ended up living and pushing through that situation. So he didn't die, which is good because Prince Wine definitely needs a witness to that whole situation for sure. And that brother dude's stupidity, Now he knows to be careful before he just drinks tea from whoever, right? I thought if I was him, I would never drink tea ever again. So you have that whole situation, and then the next thing is, which This the only part of the episode I really didn't like was the little with Wine's little sister, was just kind of like the time that she spent there, in the political arguments between the merchants inside of that area, to where they're having like these mass discussions and stuff. I did kind of like that, but then where she kind of does her takeover, does her speech, like she's an outsider, you know what I mean? I don't know how well people would really take to that, but she was like an outsider there, even though she was spending time there. She was still an outsider, she was still a visitor. And then, she goes and she leads the march and stuff, which I was like, maybe there were some things that happened in the background to kind of get those pieces to fall on the board right, but really we weren't privy to it. So that's the only thing that I kind of have a nitpick a little bit, if I had to really nitpick at something. If I just forget, if I'm just in the back of my head say, it's just anime, whatever, like I'm like, yeah, okay. But if I really think about it, because the anime is typically so meticulous about kind of like telling us like how his stupid decisions end up netting him certain outcomes, it's usually really good about that. So when it's not, I kind of like, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I really like that, but I'll forgive that part. So we had that whole sister lead that stuff. Good for her. She was able to kind of like take a cause, take a stand, and kind of like really make a name for herself. So I was like, okay, that's good. That's good for her, for the sister. Outside of how she got there, it's gonna be good for her growth and stuff. Then the next part, which I really, really digged, was like the Lomina stuff, like I already touched on, with Lomina basically being the one who's going to take over the empire at some point. Prince Wine at some point is going to have to come to terms with kind of like being her being like he's going to end up being the king of the empire, essentially. He's gonna have to marry Lomina, because she's already told him, like, I will have you in my conspirations. It's like conspire, you're going to be there. So she has already committed to like, yo, you're going to be there on my board. So he's going to have to come to grips with it, because she's going to snake her way into having him in her party, essentially. And I like how they're both so similar in that fashion, too, to where like they both kind of like they do like little snaky things. And I like how they both have like like they have like this commemoration with each other. Like they understand each other. That's why they're perfect for each other. Then we have like the last piece of it, which is essentially the Leviathan church or whatever, trying to attack Meltier, and basically they're trying to get one up on on Prince Wine, and it didn't quite work out because of the march that the sister led at the end of the episode. And because of that march, she's like, hey, we're gonna go take in Wine's decisions, take in those 30,000 people, which they can't. So then he shows up at the end to say, hey, y'all need help. So I'm very excited for that to come to fruition next episode. But I mean, overall, like, really enjoyable episode. I love how Ninum is so attached to Wine. I like how she freaked out when he passed out. I really enjoy watching all of that. I think the way that they insert comedic effect is so well done that you just have to love it, because like, it's so. Like in this episode, it was hilarious because the prince drinks the tainted tea and almost dies again. And then like the way that they insert those comedy stuff, like it's morbid comedy. Like it's not meant to. It's like it's a situation that shouldn't be funny, but you laugh your butt off, right? So I really love how the anime continues to do that, as it tells a great story that has been occurring. So you have to really, really appreciate that. So overall, another really great episode in the belt of the Genius Prince. I really appreciate you guys being here for another week. And my friends, will see you guys next week for episode number 10. Peace out, guys.